post-game live stream underway on the 5th of October. It's week 5. And Sarah, this ought to be interesting because this is unfamiliar territory for the Baltimore Ravens. Just the second time in franchise history, they are staring 1-4 in the face. And all of a sudden, this season is hanging on by a thread after they got throttled at home 44-10 to the Houston Texans, a team that obviously remembered what happened several other times that they've faced the Ravens in recent years, and most recently, of course, Christmas Day, when the Ravens boat raced them 31-2 last season in December of week 17. Sarah, it is pretty much the opposite. It went vice versa today. Not a lot went right. Kyle Van Noy shared some really telling post-game thoughts. John Harbaugh answered the question about potential changes that could be in consideration. We have a lot to get to, Sarah, after a new low. Again, I'll just repeat that score once more, and I won't say it again throughout the entire of this live stream, or at least I'll try not to. 44-10 on your home turf, Sarah. M&T Bank Stadium looked like it was halftime at point in the third quarter. That's how barren the lower bowl was. And all of a sudden, things are getting really, really dire leading into the bye week, which is still a week away. The Rams come up next week, 1-4, Sarah. It's dire straits right now in Baltimore.
Yeah, you can definitely put this up there with one of the most embarrassing losses in franchise history with a score of 44-10. And it felt that way from the start. It never felt like the Ravens were ever in it. It never looked like they had any fight. It never looked like they had any pride. Bobby, we are week 5. It's basically September. And the Ravens have gone from a quote-unquote Super Bowl contender to now fans saying a top 5 pick. Hey, give us a real draft pick. We haven't had one in decades. And what a fall from grace in just over a month. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. And maybe it's because the roster was overrated. Maybe it's because you're missing 7 Pro Bowlers to injury, 8 or 9, I think, starters, if you include all the guys that are on IR even before the season started, and Matabike and Darius Washington, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, you've got a defense that's probably one of the worst in franchise history. We can have arguments about which one is the worst, but this one is certainly up there. I believe that they let the Texans score on nearly every single drive until their second to the last one in the fourth quarter. The offense wasn't much better. Cooper Rush in his first start as a Raven, I mean, he had a lot going against him, but he has 3 interceptions, 2 of which were not his problem. Derrick Henry on 15 carries averaged 2.2 yards per carry. And so, Bobby, this season, you can still hold out hope. Okay, maybe after the bye, some of these Pro Bowlers will be coming back, including Lamar Jackson, presumably. But even then, this franchise has to ask itself a lot of questions. And some of those questions were asked to John Harbaugh and some leaders of the team. And the question is this: let's say even if they do get back every single one of their Pro Bowlers minus Nnamdi Madubuike, is this coaching up to standard? Are the people that are being paid a lot of money, particularly on the defensive side, are those players living up to the standard? And if the question is no to either one of those answers, then the franchise needs to act now. It needs to act sooner than later. Why continue to go through this misery until the end of the season? There needs to be, we can't just sit here and watch this. What is Lamar Jackson going to come back to? What are these guys coming back to? What do you expect from them? And so those are my questions, which were posed to John Harbaugh, some of them, and he gave answers to them.
Yes, he did. The first comes on the defensive side of the ball from Jeff Zaribek of The Athletic.
Or changes on with Zach or the defensive staff?
Yeah, you try to do the most productive things, and I do not think that that's the answer. So we got to go to work is what we need to do. We need to stick together is what we need to do, and we need to find ourselves. And it has to do with coaches and players together. Keep going, Sarah. You're on a roll.
He did say that. He said that with conviction. Like he said, I do not think that is the answer. What has Zach Orr done? Granted, I get it. He's missing a lot of players, but he wasn't missing all those players last year, and he wasn't missing those players when they had an epic meltdown in week 1 against the Bills. like the only game you can pin your head on is against the Browns. 40-year-old Joe Flacco pushing that. He said it with such conviction. And listen, I like Zach Orr as a person. I love the adversity he's overcome in his life. This isn't about that. This is about one of the worst defenses in franchise history, with or without Roquan Smith, with or without Marlon Humphrey, with or without Nnamdi Madubuike. You can just keep going down the list, with them or without him. Chuck Pagano, who's so seasoned as a coach, in the preseason said this is one of the best secondaries he's ever coached. Where's the pass rush? Where's the creativity? Why all the soft coverage? I see busted coverages out there, whether it's Kyle Hamilton leading the way and Roquan Smith out there, or Teddy Buchanan. He had a blown coverage on that Nico Collins. We were texting about it during just during the game with Femi Imandejo.
Femi had a lot to say after this one.
God, texting us and audio memoing us off the chains throughout this game. And it's just like there is no evidence, none, zip, zero, zilch, that a Zach Orr-led defense is up to the standard. And I'm not even talking about the 2000 Ravens standard. I'm talking about an average standard. There's nothing going on with or without. And when they turned it around last year, we know the help that he got from Dean Pease. And so, listen, I'm not trying to, I hate calling for people's jobs. I'm not trying to get the guy out of work. But why can't Pagano start calling the play calls? A slight demotion. We've all been through that before. Get somebody else in there to lead it. To do, there is nothing going right on this defense. It was like touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, field goal, touchdown. Oh, punt, and end of the game. I mean, you were like, holy cow! If there was one third down stop, it's like, whoa, what is happening? And it happened, but it was never because of the Ravens doing. Remember that one that Kyle Van Noy got in third down? He got a sack. Good for KVN. I'm glad he's back. He's back. He was completely unblocked. Same for Trenton Simpson when he got his sack. Completely unblocked. The only times the Ravens made plays, or the most amount of plays that they made, it was because the Houston Texans made mistakes themselves. I love Zach Orr. I appreciate that John Harbaugh is trying to stand by him. John Harbaugh might have some bigger problems of his own, but there has just been no evidence that Zach Orr can lead this defense out of this hole.
At this point, I'm ready for sweeping change. We've watched 2 consecutive weeks, Sarah, of a team that, Kyle Van Noy gets up there and he says what he has to say and what he should say, that he doesn't feel like it's a lack of effort. I'll continue that thought in a second. Just listen to Kyle from his words.
I think effort is an issue. I'm going to piggyback off. I know it's not a lame answer, but like it's fundamentals. Like we got to get off blocks. We got to tackle. I know people don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. That's what you got to do better. In our positions, you got young guys, they got to grow up fast. They don't have time to mature over time. We need them now to step up, and the older guys need to step up too. Guys that have been here for a couple years just got to play better, top down, and no excuses.
We'll get to the rest of his comments in just a bit because there were some very telling ones as it relates to the messaging coming from key members of this staff, John Harbaugh and Zach Orr included, on top of the accountability question, which was the final one that was posed at Kyle Sarah before he wrapped up that press conference. But here's why I'm ready and receptive to sweeping change. We've watched 2 consecutive weeks and maybe even 2.5 weeks if you go back to the Detroit game, where you've seen a team that, yes, it is utterly bruised and broken, to use Dan Orlovsky's words from this past week, broken. That's what he referred to as the Ravens. But the same exact body language showed up yet again. And that's a problem. And I think this is a perfect segue, and let me know if you agree, and to get into what I just teased from Kyle. Because these were 2 telling answers from him.
Yeah,
One,
I think
One related to the messaging, two related to the accountability. And guess what? The latter of those two, Kyle didn't feel prepared to answer in that moment in time. I don't know if that was related to his wise beyond years and how many years he's been in this league and saying, hey, let cooler heads prevail. Don't let me say something right now maybe that I'll regret. Or maybe, just maybe, if you take him by his word, and you'll listen to it in just a second, he wants to learn about the guys to his right and left that are about to stare maybe the most adversity that this Ravens organization has had in years in the eye, and see how they respond before he actually goes on record for saying whatever it is that he feels maybe is happening within this organization. Listen to both of those answers that I just teased there that were hurled his way just a short while ago.
Messages that are coming from John or Zach or whoever aren't getting through in some way?
That's probably a question that's above my pay grade, probably. I think that's a Harbaugh and ZO question, to be honest. Like, I think their messaging is fine, and we got to be the group to take that and go out and do the simple things right, the fundamentals, easy, basic stuff.
And accountability. Have you seen enough of that from the team after these losses, and what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'll be able to answer that better after the week, to be honest. To just be blatant honest. I feel like there's accountability, but we'll see.
Whew. So I saw your eyes. I saw your facial reaction there, your body language, as he answered the first part of that question. Again, not exactly a ringing endorsement, Sarah, in terms of the messaging that he feels like right now from John Harbaugh and Zach Orr. He said, that's probably a question that's above my pay grade. I think their messaging is fine. And that pause was deafening in the second part of that answer. That pause felt like an hour long, Sarah. This is one of the longest tenured, not Baltimore Ravens, but longest tenured NFL players. He's a multi-time Super Bowl champion. He's somebody that got up there and faced the music after this one. And obviously he hasn't been in the game the last 2 weeks to be a part of what's been catastrophic for this team. But he was a part of it for the first 2 weeks, a win and a loss. Those comments to me are extremely telling. What was your take on that?
Well, he said he tried to pass the buck and say that's a question for John Harbaugh and Zach Orr, but actually it's the perfect question for Kyle Van Noy, because that's a question for the players. Like, the question is, are the players, like, are you receiving their messages? Like, are you hearing it? Are you guys receiving it? He's a defensive leader, one of the few that is a veteran that played today, because he's back from injury and there's still other guys that are injured. And so I can't say how many times have we heard like Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey's like, no, it's on us. It's on us. It's on us. We got to take this and we got to go. Now he did also, we played the clip where he said, hey, we got to have better fundamentals. He's like, I know that sounds lame to say. So he's not excusing the players and the play that they've been putting out on tape. And how can you when you see the tape? So, I mean, just the way he was like, when he got that question, he's like, that's probably above my pay grade. No, that is exactly your pay grade. This, and your answer was, because listen, as the leader, he can't openly just say, oh yeah, no, we're not hearing it. Because that's something that you are supposed to say behind closed doors. That even back in the mutiny time, right? The season before the Ravens went on to win a Super Bowl. It's crazy to think that the mutiny that was going on. And Ed Reed was a part of that, and he was a leader. Ed never really went to the media. He went and he went after the coaches himself. And so Kyle Van Noy saying it's above my pay grade is like the nicest way he could have put it. If the messaging isn't getting there, that's the nicest way you could have put it. Because if the messaging was getting there, you'd say, no, we got the message. It's just up to us. And we've heard that before. He did not say that. And then it was also super telling when it was like, are you saying that there's accountability? And he's like, uncomfortably rubbing his own forearms. And he's like, well, I'll let you know. Like that, like my face, when you said, talking about my facial expressions, it's like it reminded me of that Drewski meme where it's like, what do you mean by that? You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean we'll see later this week? Like, well, what does that mean? We've gone through 5 weeks of this on defense. Are you seeing the accountability or not? So are you implying like the accountability you're looking for is out of your hands? Or are you talking, what does he mean by that? We'll see later this week. So I guess he'll have to be asked later this week. Have you seen the accountability?
I think it means that he's seeing things that are perhaps glaringly unfixable and glaringly apparent. and he needs to go either back to the drawing board and make his own observations this week in terms of how they attempt to nip this in the bud, Sarah, before it starts to spiral. And let me just correct myself. It's spiraling right now.
Yeah.
Things are spiraling. This season is hanging on by a thread. And while Jay Glazer on his Fox Sports pregame show acknowledged that there's an outside shot based on his reporting that Lamar could go next week against the Rams, are any of us banking on that?
Didn't we just go through this with Ian Rappaport this week?
We did. But I think what I'm saying is, should anybody bank on, as great as he is, and I don't mean any disrespect to Lamar whatsoever by this comment, would Lamar have been the difference today? I know the ultimate score would have been different. Would the outcome have been different? I can't sit here and confidently tell you, given what's happening on the other side of the ball, Sarah, and special teams, quite frankly, that today's outcome would have been different.
Well, it would be unfair to expect that when I just went through it, right? That they had, let me see here. Let me get the exact scoring, the exact possessions for these guys every time they had the ball. So touchdown, field goal, touchdown, 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 field goal, touchdown, field goal. Finally, a punt with 7:27 left in the fourth quarter. And I don't remember if their backup was in at that point. So to answer your question, one punt and the game was over. One punt that didn't come until 7:27. So to answer your question about Lamar Jackson, is even if he were to come back, that is completely unfair to expect him to match every score like this.
With a bad hamstring.
I don't care if it was Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, whoever you want, Joe Burrow, Allen. Bring back Tom Brady. You cannot expect any quarterback to match touchdown, field goal, touchdown, 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 field goal, touchdown, field goal. Bring back your Hall of Famers. Bring them all back. That can't be the expectation. And Tom Brady and those guys didn't have to play with that. They didn't have to. And so that's why I'm saying, even if these guys come back, whether it's next week or after the bye, what are they coming back to? And there's just isn't a recipe. Kyle Van always said it, Bobby, like with the injuries for sure are a part of this, and you can't dismiss it. They wouldn't have lost 44-10 if they had all their guys. Okay. They wouldn't have lost 44-10. Maybe they could have won it if they had all their guys. But they're not going to beat the Bills or the Lions or the Chiefs or anybody else like this. And so you just have to ask yourself, which is what Kyle Van Noy was asked, is the locker room lost? And that's essentially what they were asking KVN. And he never answered. And backing up to when John was asked about whether or not it was time to change personnel with Zach Orr, who asked that question? That was Jeff Zrebiec. That wasn't, he is the leader of the Ravens media. He's the unofficial leader of the Ravens media that's in there. When you see Jeff Zrebiec tweet, you see all Ravens media follow suit and almost do the exact same thing that Jeff does. Jeff is the most even-handed, most unbiased, most patient, all those types of things. The question came from Jeff. It came from Jeff, which is telling you how serious this has gotten.
Much like the tweet that we have up on the screen, which is also from Jeff, and it came in game. And it reads, even when the Ravens have been undermanned in the past under John Harbaugh, they've at least showed some fight and some pushback. They're showing none of that today. And that certainly still stands, even though that was in game now that the game is over. Sarah, we've seen undermanned John Harbaugh teams, as Jeff noted. One that comes to mind, or a couple that come to mind, is when both Lamar was down in the second half of 21 and 22. And gosh, you remember the COVID game in 2020 when they had their outbreak? At the time, it was one of the biggest outbreaks in the world, in the country, much less in a professional sports organization at that time. And they went out and played the Steelers tough. There was nothing tough about today. When you can point to Jair Alexander, this was interesting antics of his. I'm not sure if he knew that Jalen Noel had never scored a touchdown in his NFL career until the one today that came, and he did the Ray Lewis squirrel dance in the end zone, which just shows you how what's the right word? I mean, is it unfearful? Is that a word? Unfeared, non-feared? That's what the Ravens are when at their home turf, at the bank, you've got a rookie that's doing the Ray Lewis squirrel dance after scoring his first touchdown. What does Jair do after? Tries to rip his first ever football that he scored right out of his hands.
I appreciate at least a little bit of life. Jair isn't even like drafted by the Ravens or whatever, but he's still defending that honor. I appreciate some sort of life from somewhere.
The only reason Jair's probably playing, all due respect to him, is given what the state of the secondary, just because they've been trying to ramp him back up after, maybe throwing him out there a little bit too soon in his ramp up period after the PCL tear and of course the knee drain at the start of the summer. But I mean, if that's the one play that's not even between the lines that you could point to, man, that what an indication of how brutal today was. And certainly the M&T Bank Stadium CBS camera shot of a wide shot, if you will, Sarah, was just as telling. Man, was it barren in the lower bowl. I tweeted it out mid-game. You could have convinced me, had I not seen the timestamp and the quarter mark, that it was halftime, and it was not even halfway through the third quarter at that time. We've already mentioned some of these numbers as well. Again, this was the 25th ranked overall offense, Sarah, through 4 weeks that came into Baltimore today and smacked the Ravens. That's CJ Stroud's group. We talked with John McClain at length about this in our Friday episode previewing the Houston Texans. Look at them. Does this look like the 25th ranked overall unit to you, or maybe like top 5, top 3 after what they might be that, by the way, after the 5 game sample size based on what the Ravens gifted them today? 44 points, 417 total yards. That worked out to 6.3 yards per play. They were 7 for 12 on third down with very little pressure, to the point where J.J. Watt, Sarah, picked up on it very early on in this game in the CBS broadcast booth, essentially saying there's zero pressure at all on CJ Stroud. We've watched that for 5 consecutive weeks. CJ had time to survey the field. JJ was saying by the end of the game, this looks like rookie year CJ Stroud again. That's what the Ravens gifted the Texans today in terms of optics and ultimately the reality based on what they put on film. They lost the time of possession battle by more than 13 minutes, Sarah, and injuries or no injuries. Today was a colossal failure and one of the worst under John Harbaugh's watch over the last 18 years.
That's probably a good time to dive in deeper to both what happened on defense and offense, since we're kind of wrapping up coaching and what's going on there with questions about letting go of Zach Orr, this and that. But before we do, maybe we should do a read and some super chats.
Yeah, for sure. Kieran Martin celebrating 2 months of channel membership. And Kieran writes, sorry excuse for an organization. Time for Bisciotti to step up and make some heads roll. Harbaugh isn't going to get rid of his protege. Or Ron Brown with some very rare optimism for you, Sarah.
Wow. Ron is saying 11-6. Mark his words. Do you want us to mark him if it's not 11-6 also?
Ron, I appreciate you, man.
Yes, Ron.
Quasi, is it Quasi? Quasi France has become our newest channel member. Appreciate you, KF, for being here today. And Eric Hill, Sarah, of course, finding room in his generous heart today for a $100 super chat for you.
Can always count on Eric saying, in case no one tells you they love you, just know that I do. Fire prevention tip of the day: close before you doze. In case of a fire, you and your family are more likely to survive if your door is closed when you're sleeping at night. Did not know that. Hashtag stop the 22, hashtag fire prevention, but I do sleep with my door closed. That's good to know.
You're the man, EH. Why don't I do all meatloafs at the end of the show? How about that? Adam Legend writes, from now on, you got to name your replacement if you say fire Harbaugh. Name someone that wins us a Super Bowl in 2026 instead of looped complaining. Maybe that was a autocorrect there. Captain Hard for you.
Says Zach has to go. I don't give a shite if we had injuries. 2, John's coaching is bad. It showed today. The locker room has officially quit on John.
Dreams. Y'all over Monken yet? LJ has made him look like a genius this entire time. Zio in the zone. Gotta go. John and his stupid confused look strikes again. Richard's in the house today.
Says, I wish I could get paid 10 million plus for doing nothing. Hashtag Harbs absolutely stinks.
And TBK in the house. As I've said, this team's front office has become soft / too friendly with one another. Went from a hard-nosed football culture to a country club / podcast lounge for bums. Embarrassing is an understatement. Harsh words today. A lot of emotions out there. We appreciate the super chats that are pouring in, over 4,300 concurrents at the moment. That brings us to Ryan White.
Says, my heart is breaking. Where do we go from here?
Quasi says, our window closed after the AFC home championship loss. Kieran is back.
Or won't go anywhere. He's John's handpicked guy.
Kobe Pruitt, KP in the house with a 50 burger today. Injuries provide context, but are not an excuse. This entire team gave up. We talk about the defense, but when Rashad gave up mid-route for the pick to Lassiter, I knew the locker room was lost. Don't even risk Lamar next week. For what? For what? We'll get to some of those pieces of observations there in game that KP is discussing. On the Bateman route, I saw a couple tweets from those that had the bird's eye view, Sarah, from the press box or from different parts of the stadium. Bateman and Cooper walked right by one another. There was absolutely no discussion after that miscommunication or just a straight up blatant. I mean, I don't want to call it. I don't know. What do we call it? I mean, did he get lost in the sun? I mean, he just gave up on the route.
Yeah, he definitely slowed down on the route. Maybe he got lost in the sun. I don't know if anybody's talked to him, but Kobe, appreciate the meatloaf on that last one. Much appreciated.
Captain Hard's in the house.
Losing happens, but the way we lost was so embarrassing. No heart. Last year, we didn't turn it around. We just played bad QB / offenses. Lamar might try and play next week. That's how bad it is right now.
Captain Hard writes, pause, fine. Quote, fine, locker room is gone. No leaders.
Talking about Kyle Van Noy's response.
Correct. That came in about 10 plus minutes ago. Wes Hall for you.
He says, from X, the Ravens have given up 177 points this season. This clears for the most points allowed in a team's first 5 games in NFL history. Yet we don't need a change at defensive coaching.
That is a indictment. Nick Marty writes, KVN literally just said it without even saying it. The message is lost with the same old song and dance. Get rid of somebody, make a point, or start trading people away, or suck for Bane. Bane? Is that a draft prospect that I'm forgetting about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Captain Hard for you.
Captain Hard says John is a good coach when he doesn't have to be one. When he doesn't have to be the one meaning. Okay, let me try this again. John is a good coach when he doesn't have to be the one, meaning when he has leaders who does his job for him. You call out Todd, but scared to call out Orr. I don't think he's scared. I think it might be more an indictment on himself for choosing him and feeling like he needs to give him the support for putting him in a position that he may not have been ready to take. I think it's more of that.
Revisiting this quickly, Reuben Bain Jr., stud for the Miami Hurricanes. Boy, did Miami look good the other night. Thanks, Nick. It's expected to be a top 5 pick, by the way, in April. Tom writes, no team leaders. Underwhelming coaching. Team is completely at its lowest point ever. Not sure where to start rebuilding this mess. And it is a mess. John Harbaugh has to go. He must go. Right? Greg from Long Beach, West Coast. Greg, Sarah.
Said, wow, when I predicted that we were going to have a historic season, I didn't know it was going to be in this direction. No,
right?
but I don't think any of us did, Greg.
I think you
Super
tweeted
Bowl
something
talk.
out, right? And kind of your
All
thoughts off
that
the
Super
top
Bowl talk.
for this kind of turnaround, this night and day turnaround, Super Bowl contending to maybe missing the playoffs. Brian Walters, I've navigated the stages of grief and have settled comfortably into acceptance. The Baltimore Ravens are dog water. Basically just hate watching at this point. Just embarrassing, awful slide. Dreams.
Every game, the offense's first possession is positive, and after that, nothing. And no pressure on the 27th ranked Texas offensive line. That's embarrassing. 2 sacks, and both of them unblocked.
Eric Hill is back. He's gifted 5 channel memberships on top of his $100 donation. EH, you're the man. 5 new VAULTRONs as a direct result of Eric being the dude. Brian Walters writes, I know Sarah hates negativity, so here's some positivity. At least we're not the Jets. But Brian, are we?
Question mark?
No, the Ravens aren't 0-5, but darn it.
The Ravens have a franchise quarterback.
Sarah, they're practically 0-5 because all they've beat is the Cleveland Browns. And hey, by the way, we'll get to some quick hits later on.
Don't
I watched
you
a
take
good
away
chunk
their
of the
one
London
win.
game.
Don't you take away their one win, Bobby.
I watched that London game. We'll have some thoughts on that one earlier today. Cleveland falls and Dylan Gabriel's first career start under center for them. Nurudeen for you.
He says, I was supposed to take my niece to their first game, but sold my tickets because I got the flu and thought Lamar would be out. Thank God I did, he says.
Oh, De Niro, I'm so sorry. I'm a Baltimorean living in Houston. We are cooked. Oh, no. Is it Cabrin? Let us know. KJ, thanks for becoming a new channel member. We appreciate you, man. And Linda E., Sarah, with a $100 super chat today.
We got double meatloaf here. Served up by Linda E. She says, well, I'm glad Eric loves us because the Ravens clearly do not. Yes, we were not totally beloved today by the Ravens, but I don't think they feel loved by us either. So fair is fair. She says, I have no words. She does have meatloaf, though, a double dose of it. So we appreciate you, Linda.
Yeah, she and Eric have been going back and forth the last couple of days. Thanks, Linda. Real Truth and Power says, is it coaching or players? How much blame does EDC get? I will say it's coaching, but what's your thoughts? Defense has gotten worse and or sucks. We're going to get to all that and more in a
Just
second.
real quick, we won't talk about EDC though, so I'll just answer that real quick. I think what I most clearly can put on EDC is the offensive line, because we knew what we were getting into with these guards. This wasn't a surprise. Voorhees lost his job last year. Fa'alele is at best average on his best days and doesn't put up terrible tape. The guards are a horrendous situation, and we knew it was going to be. And we know that the number one thing that you want to do, because first of all, we already know it, but we were also seeing it with an in-division rival with the Cincinnati Bengals, who poured all their money into targets and then the quarterback himself, but now the quarterback isn't around. You have to protect franchise quarterbacks. Josh Allen has a fantastic offensive line. He doesn't have the weapons that Joe Burrow has, but he has a fantastic offensive line. Lamar Jackson doesn't have the targets that Joe Burrow has, but he also doesn't have the offensive line that Josh Allen has. That I for sure feel like we can put on EDC. He should have gone out and he should have gotten better guards. We knew it was a problem. And I will say this, as much as the roster got a lot of love, one place that we were always nervous about was offensive line depth. And now we're already there with Stanley, and these two guards can't do anything. The other thing that I called attention to was the interior of the defensive line after Michael Pierce left. I don't feel like they adequately replaced him for this run defense. Those are two things that I think we all saw ahead of time, not a surprise. I think EDC deserves some blame for that.
I'll add a third onto that as well, veteran safety. With Ardarius Washington going down in the conditioning drill that was going on before training camp, knowing, yes, I get it. It was a swing and a miss a year ago with Eddie Jackson, but you're just not going to replace.
Well, he got a first-round pick with the safety. I feel like that one I'm okay with. It was a first-round pick. You should expect a first-round pick to be able to play. Now, you don't expect a first-round pick to take over with Kyle Hamilton out, But yes, you expect first-round picks to be able to play immediately. Yes.
I mean, play immediately, but now being in the role that he's in.
No, the role now, no. But the role that they had carved out for him.
It's clearly behind the two that you just mentioned. I get that.
Depth behind those two, I'm with you on.
Yeah.
Let's
see here. I think Real Truth and Power sent two of the same ones, so maybe you weren't meaning to do that, Real, but appreciate it. I think the second one's just the same. And then Nuruddin says also the offensive line coach has got a goal, taking fire at George Warhop, who, of course, was the interim last year for Joe D, who passed tragically last summer. Okay, we're fully caught up on Super Chats for the time being. We'll get to as many as we possibly can throughout the course of the show. We appreciate you guys for chiming in with your thoughts on what is, a historic day for all the wrong reasons, Sarah, for this Ravens franchise. They lose 44-10. It's a new low. Kyle Van Noy wouldn't necessarily commit to rock bottom, but what I think we know is the case is that this is a new rock bottom for the current Ravens franchise in the Lamar era. And there's nothing that really anybody can do about it besides the ones that are inside that building. And so they'll get healthier over the next couple of weeks. They'll have a very early bye that they so desperately need in week 7 after the Rams come to town next week. But there's just nothing that's going to fix this aside from the people that are in complete control of it and maybe a deadline move. But it's going to take a lot. And now you want to get into the nitty gritty on both sides of the football in terms of what went wrong today.
Yeah, so we'll start on the defensive side. I mean, another week, another time when an opposing offense gets to say, hey, we got back on track. We've been so bad, but we told you guys to be patient with us. We're gonna find our way. We're gonna be good. And then the patience pays off when you play the Ravens. I can't guarantee. Do we know what's going on with the Chiefs right now? Are they playing right now?
I'll get you an update.
Okay, remember the Chiefs were like, use the Ravens as a get-right game? At least right? And so, but will they continue after the Ravens?
They play tomorrow.
I don't know. They play tomorrow. Okay, so we'll find out tomorrow. Are they really back? Are they really back? Or did they just play the Ravens defense? Here are the Houston Texans. You want a career day? You play Zach Orr's Baltimore Ravens defense. CJ Stroud with a phenomenal day. 23 of 27, Bobby. He had an 85% completion rate when he threw almost 30 times. 85%. Do we feel like CJ Stroud? We just talked to John McClain. We just talked about all the issues he's had. Do we really think that he's suddenly the greatest quarterback ever? Or did he just play the Baltimore Ravens in 2025? 244 pass yards, 4 touchdowns. By the way, he had 4 passing touchdowns coming into this game. In 4 weeks, he had 4 total touchdowns against the Ravens. He had 4 total pass touchdowns. That 30-yard rushing yards, he got that on one play. He got that. He was outrunning Tavius Robinson and Teddy Buchanan, who barely kind of hit him at the end to knock him out of bounds. Yeah, so that was the highest completion percentage of his career. That was the longest rush of his career. Go ahead, Houston. Start to feel better about yourselves if you want to. You might get an outsized feeling of confidence because this is what the Ravens do for their opponents week in and week out.
I keep finding myself going back to some comments from Marlon Humphrey in the offseason. It was July. It was right at the start of training camp or right before it. And a lot was made of them then. But now they're like aging like fine wine, and that's not a good thing. I want to revisit these quickly, Sarah, just in case folks forgot about this. Again, this is back in July. Marlon Humphrey talking about the state of the defense going into the 2025 season, giving some of their deficiencies and shortcomings in the years prior to this year.
Try to stay away from expectations for the most part. I think NFL is just, I don't think you can really predict what is going to happen. You just kind of try to put your head down and work. I know when I first got here, obviously the Ravens defense was, I felt like teams, feared what we did. Now, we are trying to get that back, but I mean, I don't think the Bengals fear our defense. I mean, I don't think the Steelers fear our defense. So those expectations, when it's in your own division, people kind of like, sweet, we play the Ravens. I think whatever expectations are put upon us, it doesn't really phase, I think, me. It doesn't really phase his team. So to me, expectations are just a talking point, I guess, amongst the media.
Sarah, I think you can add Houston to that list. Now, he was just talking about in-division opponents there, of course, back in July. And you guys heard the comments. Quote, when I first got here, obviously, the Ravens defense, I felt like teams feared what we did. I don't think the Bengals fear our defense. I don't think the Steelers fear our defense. That's coming from the longest tenured Baltimore Raven. And as we discuss that and use it as a way of saying, like, yeah, man, those first 10 weeks last year, partner, can't go there again, right? Can't be willing to go down that road again. You cannot stare 0-2 in the face. Partner.
They didn't. They did, Bobby. They got 1-1.
Partner, there's people that I think you can make. It's not even an argument. You'd rather be where you were last year.
Absolutely. Because after week 5, they were back to being 3-2.
You would rather be where you were last year.
With that defense that was number 32 in passing defense. Oh, I would take that any day.
Oh my goodness.
Because right now,
and this was coming into the game. This is coming into the game. So you're not going to want to see any of these that you have up on the screen in the next 48 hours, Sarah, once week 5 finishes up.
Bobby, I would so take number 32 in passing defense and number 1 in rushing defense, and then middle of the board for points allowed per game. But right now, the Ravens defense coming into this game, points allowed per game last. Something tells me that I don't even have to wait until Tuesday to find out that giving up 44 points isn't going to take them out of last place. Call me crazy. Call me crazy that I don't need to wait for all these other games to end to see where other people end up with their points allowed. I think 44 probably solidifies that last spot in the NFL for points allowed per game. That is as safe can be. The 31 yards allowed per game. That's in 2025. The CBS cameras pointed out from 2000. 24 years. I guess 25 because you're counting 2000 itself. 25 years of defensive excellence. Now, they weren't each and every single one at these rankings, but combined to everybody else's franchises from 2000 to 2024, the Ravens were number 1 in points allowed per game and number 2 in yards per game. And this is where we are today. And you want to know why? Let me tell you why. Because as I watched the defense today, I saw a unit that cannot stop the run. They cannot steal the edge. They cannot get pressure on the quarterback without the other team just having a straight up blunder and missing a block. They can't cover wide receivers. And really, everybody knows that you just got to stop Nico Collins. But not only did Nico go off, but so did others. They can't cover tight ends. Let me see here. You want some numbers? I can give you some numbers on these guys. Let's see. Schultz, their tight end, finished with 5 receptions for 60. Kirk, 4 for 64. Collins, 4 for 52. Jay Higgins, 4 for 32. I can just they had so many receivers. So they can't stop the run. They can't steal the edge. They can't get pressure on the quarterback. They can't cover wide receivers. They can't cover tight ends. They can't play penalty free. They can't get consistent third down stops. And then I asked Twitter, I was like, is there anything I'm missing? Immediately was like, they can't tackle. True. And then they said they can't coach on defense either. True. Like I missed 2 big ones. They can't do anything. That's why we're saying last year we'll take it because at least they could stop the run. Last year they were just busting coverages everywhere. Oh, I would take that. And how sad is that we would joyfully go back to last year? We would take that because at least you're giving Lamar Jackson the offense somewhat of a chance.
Do we dare go to the other side of the ball?
Woof.
It's like, Do we dare flip to the other side of the ball, Sarah? Because
Well, we have to.
I know. I know. This was a group that, gosh, even early on, you had multiple pre-snap penalties. Isaiah Likely being the culprit on 2 of them. And you're thinking, this team can't even get out of their own way. Cooper Rush, of course, got his first career start, not first career start, but first as a Baltimore Raven. And we knew coming in, he had been more than serviceable in relief of Dak Prescott in Dallas. 9-5 coming in. Sarah, I don't think there was anything that he possibly could have done, again, to turn this thing around offensively. Derrick Henry, early on in this game, it became clear that you could have given him 30 carries, 40 carries. It wasn't going to matter. This defensive front was dominant, led by Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter. They were giving the Ravens tackles fits early and often, and Derrick had nowhere to go. He finished with 15 carries for 33 yards. That's an average of 2.2 per carry. He did have a touchdown in garbage time. His long yard, meaning his long rush, was 7. Sarah, as a team, for yet another week, is this the 3rd time this season alone that they've had games under 100 rushing yards total? I mean, this was, again, they couldn't even get the engine started in terms of total plays. They only ran 40 to Houston's 66. They finished with just 207 yards of total offense to Houston's 417. They lost the 3rd down efficiency battle. They were 3 for 8, where Houston was 7 for 12. And my, oh my, yet again, a team comes in, Sarah, and dominates the time of possession. They outpossessed Baltimore by 13 minutes. 13 minutes. The Ravens were penalized 9 times for 49 yards. Again, several of them being before the snap. They had 3 total turnovers. It's hard to win, it's hard to be competitive, much less win a game when you're putting out that kind of output or lack thereof.
Yeah. I mean, so Cooper Rush's record goes from 9-5 as a starter to 9-6. Listen, he came out and I was like, okay, Coop, with that very first drive. But then again, the Ravens' first drives have all been good when they're scripted. And then they all go downhill from there. And, Bobby, 2 of those 3 interceptions that he had, weren't his fault. Okay, the first one where he tried to do, I think, a check down to Derrick Henry, he underthrew that, and it was picked off. I think that one you can definitely put on Coop. The second one was bobbled by Mark Andrews, just bobbling. It felt like for days. Yeah. It just felt like slow motion, and it's just like you can't stop it. You see it, but you can't stop it from happening.
Yeah.
And Mark Andrews definitely knows it was his fault. He threw his helmet down. He went to the sideline. He was on the bench. He hit the back seat of the bench like he was ticked off at himself.
And important to note too, it was far from on target. But knowing Mark, he wants that.
I mean, it was low, but it was again in both of his hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't the best. It wasn't the best throw, but like if Cooper, even if Cooper had hit the ground with it, it wouldn't have been an interception.
Mark knows he's got to reel that in.
Yeah, I think that's why he was punching the back of the bench and throwing down his helmet. And then the one to Zay Flowers, you already noted it appeared he stopped running his route.
Rashad
Bateman. It appeared that he just stopped running his route. Whether he got lost in the sun, didn't know where the ball was, I have no idea. But he definitely stopped. And so anyway, I saw Jeff Zrebiec. He had tweeted, let me just get it right here so I get it right. After the 3rd interception, he says the team has bigger problems than Cooper, but it'll be interesting to see if Harbaugh goes to Tyler Huntley next week against the Rams. Like this to me, if I had the decision, I'd probably stick with Cooper. But I'm actually indifferent about it. Like whichever one of these guys you put in, what's the difference? We're already questioning if Lamar Jackson were to come back next week. Like what is he coming back to? Is he going to be enough to overcome what's happening on the defense. And we said, well, it'd be unfair to ask any Hall of Famer to come out. They can't match the defense giving up points on every single drive until the end of the fourth quarter. If you can't ask Lamar Jackson to do that, like Cooper Rush versus Tyler Huntley, I'd probably let Cooper Rush continue to try to like find his mojo with these guys because we've seen Tyler Huntley so much. But if they made the switch, fine. It doesn't matter. It's not going to matter with this offensive line, with Derrick Henry getting 2.2 yards per carry, and with the defense giving up that many points. It's like, so I'm indifferent to it.
Yeah, when it comes to Cooper, man, which is why we've led the show the way we have, right? Like, in terms of blame, it's really hard to evaluate Cooper Rush without his franchise left tackle protecting his blind side, with the state of the defense, with the state of the offensive line play, particularly the guards. So all we have to evaluate Cooper in Baltimore is preseason, which is really difficult to evaluate quarterback play, knowing that the Ravens do not play many of their starters, if any, throughout the summer months since J.K. Dobbins went down a couple years ago. You also have a really small sample size in the fourth quarter last weekend in Kansas City to evaluate him. And now you have him with everything that we just mentioned, which is a tall task. You have 4 quarters to evaluate him. And I think it would just be unfair to view him as like the scapegoat, if you will, like given everything that's around him. I still think that he gives them the best chance to win, even though there really never felt like there was a chance to win the ball game today, which is kind of what you said off the top. But gosh, at this point, I'm kind of with you on the indifferent side of things. You need a spark. You need somebody that's going to give you a chance, a spark to win and be competitive. And again, Jay Glazer can report all he wants, as Ian Rappaport, like we already noted, did a week ago, whether it's an outside chance or leaving the window open or door open for a return for Lamar, much like Joe Burrow had to deal with last year in Cincinnati. What is he coming back to on the other side of the football? More questions than there are answers. And this is why it's a team that's in dire straits, Sarah. In week 5, we're through 5 weeks, and they're in dire straits.
Look how bad. This is why people always say that Harbaugh saved the franchise, or excuse me, Lamar Jackson saved the franchise. He saved John Harbaugh. The Ravens with Lamar Jackson are 74-32. They're 3-9 without him when he's out due to injury.
And would this probably be, would a 10 need to be in there now?
They are now, yep. This is during the game, so before the end of this year, right? So 3-10. They averaged 28.1 yards per game with Lamar, so nearing 30. Without him, 15.7. Today it was 10. Total yards per game, they averaged with Lamar almost 400 yards per game, 388.4. That drops by 80 yards per game without him. And what was the total today of yards? Let me see.
200 something.
207.
Yeah.
So it dropped by almost 200 without Lamar today.
Yeah.
So, Lamar comes back. Obviously, they'll have more yards. They'll score more points. But will they win with that defense? Listen, to me, here's the combination of things that I would need to see bare minimum to feel like there's a chance after the bye. Okay. You have all the Pro Bowlers minus Nnamdi return. Okay. That means Marlon Humphrey's back. Roquan Smith's back. Kyle Hamilton's back. Lamar Jackson's back. Ricard is back. Isaiah Lardikili's already back, but keep him in. So all those guys have to be back. But that not alone will not do it for me. You have to combine it with a change of defensive play calling. Zach Orr cannot be that guy for me. I'm not saying totally fire him. I don't like people losing, their livelihood, but I don't think he should be the guy leading the play calling in the defense. So I would need a combination of those two things, bare minimum. Oh, and by the way, Ronnie Stanley would have to be back. With the combination of those two things is a bare minimum of what I would need to see to feel like, okay, maybe they'll have a chance to go on a run after the bye against these teams. They're not as good. That's what I need. But I can't have one without the other. I know other people are saying, well, Harbaugh needs to go too, or Todd Monken, or all of that. I'm talking about bare minimum to even make things interesting again after the bye. I would need a combination of those two things.
Wow, that is a lot of asks, and they're all valid.
But
Asks.
they're all very doable. These are soft tissue injuries. You know what I mean? These aren't ACLs. Ronnie is an ankle, so I don't know that that's soft tissue. But Marlon is soft tissue. Ricard's a calf soft tissue. Kyle's a groin soft tissue. Lamar is a hamstring soft tissue. What was Chidobe? I'll look him
I feel
up.
like his was, I don't remember.
But Roquan was hamstring too.
Yeah.
So these are all, that's not crazy asks. That's not crazy like, oh, Sarah, you're reaching. Like, those are all things that should be able to happen with 3 weeks worth of rest.
The hammies scare you though.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
they just
I'm
tend
not saying it's gonna happen, but it's not a crazy ask.
No, it's not a crazy ask. I guess I just wonder now that they've happened and been sustained so early in the season. Like, yeah, you're at your bare minimum asks are like just have them available. But then once they become available, how durable they're going to be amid availability. You know,
I got you. But don't you think? But Bobby, that's not the standard. I'm saying the standard is to make things interesting again. If that would make things interesting again.
Yeah.
Combined with different play caller on defense.
I'm with
That's the standard I'm talking about. To like, and I think it would make fans peek in again. Some fans are already checked out, right? When's the last time we saw PHP? He's got to be checked out right now, right?
Oh,
there are so many PHPs out there that are probably checked out. Those guys return. Who I'm not saying they'll be 100%, but those guys return, and you have a change on defense. People will like peek in again, not get their hopes up, but they'll peek in again. I'm saying those things need to happen in order to at least make it interesting again.
I'm with you. You know, I have the inactives as a reminder for everybody up there. We've already mentioned it a number of times, but for Kyle Hamilton to have not gone after being listed as questionable when Friday's final injury report came, to me was interesting. One, because it meant that the green dot communication device would be handed off to a rookie. And two, clearly it was severe enough, the groin injury that he sustained during the Kansas City game that lingered into practice, it was severe enough to hold him down in essentially a must-win game, like we've discussed. So that was really interesting. And I saw a super chat about the green dot communication device that I wanted to bring in from our guy, Captain Hard, who writes, Jair Alexander in his press conference seemed to think that Malachi Starks had the green dot. Did they switch mid-game? There are reports out there that Teddy Buchanan, and you could see it on his helmet, that he was wearing to start the green dot communication device from sideline to player. We are just so unorganized, Captain Hard writes. We don't even look like a bad NFL defense. We look worse than that. Sarah, Jair caught up with reporters in a post-game scrum. Have you seen anything on this?
Yes. It was I have Jonas Schaefer here. Jonas Schaefer's the one. Here's Jonas's tweet. He says, Jair Alexander indicated that Malachi Starks was helping with the defense's communication when he was on the field. Jonas goes on to say, not sure whether the Ravens moved the green dot from Teddy Buchanan to Starks mid-game, but Alexander seemed to think Starks was in charge.
Interesting.
Teddy Buchanan, listen, I'm not going to bury him because he's a 4th-round draft pick starting as the Mike linebacker. So I'm not going to bury him. I think more you could bury, again, Eric DeCosta for not having better depth there. He let a lot of veterans go, some guys that stepped in last year that at least held things together with Roquan Smith. So I'm not going to bury Buchanan, but he was lost out there. I went back and watched it. Femi pointed out to us via text. We watched that Nico Collins touchdown. I don't even know what Teddy Buchanan was doing. His feet was mostly in cement. I mean, he was barely moving. He got caught up in a wash, then went over and guarded the same guy that Malachi Starks did. And then a touchdown pass went right over his right shoulder where he should have, if he stepped like 2 feet to his right, he would have been there for. But he just was so turned around. So to put the communication, to give him the green dot, And that's what it drives me nuts, because like you're listening to him and they asked Zach Orr on Thursday, hey, neither Roquan or Kyle Hamilton will be out there. And he's like, well, we had guys doing it in the preseason and they were pretty good. So I'm very comfortable with guys out there with the green dot. Well, you shouldn't be so comfortable, because maybe you'd come up with different ideas. Maybe you could have, I do not know, but there is no reason to feel comfortable with that, about that, because the defense was lost all game. All game. One other thing real quick. Sorry, go ahead. If we're doing super chats, let's go with it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. KP writes, Kobe says that this team was constructed to rely on Lamar being Superman. We went cheap on areas we should have invested in, i.e. the trenches, and relied too heavily on projected growth over production. Well said, KP, as usual. Leo Morris, Sarah.
Is there anything EDC can do before the deadline? Well, when's the deadline again, Bobby? Is it before week 7?
Yeah, so I've actually incorporated a lot of this commentary into my live streams the last 48 hours, Sarah, so I can quickly talk about it just real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
Because Mina Kimes kind of got it started. She went on Ryan Fitzpatrick's podcast, and Andrew Whitworth, the former Ram, and these two, do the Thursday Night Football broadcast together. And Mina was like, hey, if I'm if I'm Eric DaCosta, I'm calling up maybe the 2 New York teams and maybe Tennessee. Now, Tennessee hasn't been a willing partner of the Ravens in recent seasons. We know that, going back to the Derrick Henry deadline discussion before they acquired him in the offseason after that season, which would have been leading into the 24 season. But she mentioned a name like Jeff Simmons. He's a D lineman for Tennessee. Then I checked in with our pal Jake Asman, and I was like, hey, who do you think would be up for grabs in New York, meaning the Jets? Now they're 0-5, so they're clearly going to be selling, or could potentially be answering phones to at least listen. And by the way, to answer your question, it's November 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern, a month from yesterday. He's like, no way, it's Quinn and Williams. Like, he's off the table. I said, okay. And then I started looking into some of the New York players, the Giants, that is. Did they lose today? It was Jackson Dart's second career start. They did. Oh my gosh, they lost to the Saints. That's a bad loss for them. So they're 1-4. They might be willing to sell. Kayvon Thibodeau, young player for them, playing really well this year, and Dexter Lawrence, big vet defensive tackle. So again, just throwing names out there. We'd have to look more into sort of the contractual part of it. But November 4th is the deadline, and you get the sense that, Sarah, if they feel like they can write this somehow to, at least to your point, with all the requests out there, if some of those start to ring true and come to fruition, and they can at least make it interesting and give themselves a shot at being a wild card team, maybe you do what you did in 2022 and you're willing to overpay and go get a guy.
Yeah, but by then they will have had to, like a month from yesterday, they will have needed to stack 3 some sort of wins in order to like put up that kind of money. Otherwise, you're going the reverse, and you may need to think about selling.
Yep.
There's a lot of defensive players that are getting paid a lot of money, and you might be able to get some draft, resources out of that.
Laney lately has become our newest channel member. It feels crazy to say that too, doesn't it? Like the fact that they could be selling instead of buying at the deadline. Whew. And I'm sure some people out there are like, yeah, go get more, go keep stockpiling your draft picks just to go 30% or, which, by the way, if you look like industry standard, I saw a really interesting stat the other day, like 40%, meaning like hit or miss. If you hit 40% of the time in drafting, that's actually a win. Now, I don't know where the Ravens would be, especially with this year's rookie class that obviously has been thrust into a lot of key moments here. But it's been a disappointing start, obviously, for this rookie class. Quasi, for you.
Quasi says, too many excuses for Lamar. Mahomes succeeds to Super Bowls with bad defenses, first Super Bowl, receivers and O-lines. It's Lamar and Harbaugh, both lacking. I would like to look into just how bad those Mahomes defenses were. I'd like to know that.
They have Jacksonville tomorrow night, Monday night. Captain Hard writes, Alexander in his press conference seemed to think Starks had the green dot. We got another super chat on this just a few minutes ago. Did they switch mid-game? We are just so bad and unorganized. That brings us to James J.
Says no pass rush and adjustments from week to week equals top 10 pick. The front 7 looks lost. Zio looks confused, and Ardarius Washington's absence is missed, along with a lot of other absences.
Juice Man Vaughn. Sarah, we still got a seat waiting for you on the, quote, fire Harbaugh train. Most of the coaching staff, really. How many more miserable losses will it take before you hop on with us, comma, friend?
Well, I'm certainly not singing his praises right now, Juice Man. And I would not blame Steve Bisciotti if he agreed with you whatsoever.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we're never ones to call for folks' jobs. I think I pretty much said it without saying it earlier
You said
on.
sweeping changes.
Yeah, I'm ready. I think I'm ready. I've seen enough. And while he will one day be a Ring of Honor honoree high atop M&T Bank Stadium, and maybe when it's all said and done, a Hall of Famer in Canton. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo wrapping up that postgame show the other day referred to him and Andy as bona fide Hall of Famers, paraphrasing. Shoo-in Hall of Famers. Obviously, Andy is, and maybe John is one day as well. But we're in the here and now, and I think it is time for change in Baltimore.
Yeah, and we've said it a few times. Like, it just doesn't feel like the Harbaugh-Lamar connection duo is working. Some people have brought up like Andy Reid, right? Great coach. I mean, we know he's a great coach, and he was let go by the Philadelphia Eagles when he kept getting to NFC championships or divisional rounds and then not getting over the hump. Then he goes out to Kansas City. He has a good pairing with Patrick Mahomes, all that kind of stuff. So if the Ravens were to move on from John Harbaugh, he could go on and do great things. I'm almost certain he would. But I've been saying for weeks, I don't think this duo is going to get over the hump. And Lamar Jackson is 28 years old, and I think he deserves I think somebody else deserves a bite at the apple with Lamar Jackson. I think somebody else deserves a bite of the apple. We were feeling that way coming into the season. We said, this is the season to find out, and I think we are finding out. And he's had 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, now 25. That's 8 bites at the apple. Lamar is a generational player. Lamar is a 2-time MVP. He's capable of so much. And I think that he needs a different team around him in the coaching ranks.
Hey, can you still hear me?
I can hear you. I just can't see you.
Okay, so let me just be clear what's going on. What a great time in the midst of the Harbaugh conversation for this to happen. There is a massive storm coming through St. Pete right now. Okay. Tilly just freaked out after a thunderbolt ripped through here and plunged herself into my setup and took my camera off its stand. I'll be right back. Okay. I'll be right back.
I heard something. I heard something back over there.
She is shaking right now and completely took down my entire setup. I'll be right back.
Okay. Do you want to mute yourself or do you want to talk?
I'm gonna mute and if you could take us through the rest of Super Chats, I'll be right back.
Yeah, let me see where we're at.
Right.
Let's see.
Catch you in a second.
Where is he? Where's Juice Man in this?
He is Captain Hard's up next, and I'll actually pop it up for you. We already had this one, so that brings us to Ryan K. Johns for you.
Okay, thank you. Ryan K. Johns says, "No expectations. Fire the author of this mindset. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Let's see here. Show Me Row says, "At least my Jays are up 12-0 on the Yankees." Well, congratulations, Show Me Row. I'm glad that you have found joy in your sports life. Let's see here. Stevie O is in the house. He says, "Ravens seem flat and uninspired besides the opening drive. Zio said the defense was going to come out and hit harder, and I witnessed nothing like that." We saw nothing like that, Steve-O. Here's John Harbaugh last Monday, if you guys recall, said that he feels like the defense is close. Is this close? It feels further away today. It feels further away. And he said that knowing how many of his players were injured. So it's not like he said that week 1. Just Monday, he said, "I think the Ravens defense is close." And yeah, I mean, Zio keeps saying all the right things. I appreciate him and his attitude, but it is not translating. And as Kyle Van Noy Kyle Van Noy sort of pointed out by not giving them a ring endorsement. It doesn't seem like the messages are getting through anymore. And Kyle Van Noy also rightfully pointed out that he just watched the San Francisco 49ers team that is beat up. And not only did they play hard, but they ended up upsetting and winning their game. Ravens weren't even close to that. 44-10? Come on now. Minnie says, go Broncos, let's ride. Thank you. Good luck. Hey, I grew up in Colorado, so we're sure at this point. Captain Hart is back. So is Bobby, sort of. Now he's gone. He says, I don't think a trade would make a difference. Probably not. Let's see. Go Broncos again. Eric Hill is back. Says, I have to go back and watch the game. I got interrupted by a kitchen fire. Woo! So I can't honestly give my opinion of the game. Good for you, Eric. Out there saving lives and homes. What a man you are. Anwar Starwind says, hypothetically speaking, what type of new head coach would you like? Offense, defense, or CEO? Well, let me get back to you on that in the offseason. If the Ravens were to make an in-season change, it's somebody already on staff. So it would be like a Todd Monken. It would be a not Zach Orr. It would be Chuck Pagano, those types of things. So for now, if it were an in-season thing, it's like you take your pick of somebody that's already in the organization. You're back? Look at you. You're all set up. But your audio's gone. I think you're still muted.
Sorry about that, guys. For everybody that has rescue dogs at home, I'm sure you can relate, but storm season down here. Luckily, no signs of any hurricanes yet, but pretty gnarly bolt came flying through here, and Tilly launched herself under the table and started flailing her body around and unhooked and detached things that I had no clue where they were even coming from. So it was a guessing game to put it all back together. Sorry about that.
That's all right. No, I feel bad for Tilly. Really.
Yeah, I locked her in the closet, gave her a little bit of CBD. So see what happens there. Let's see. Did you already throw Anwar up there?
Yeah, just did Anwar. I'm going to skip Donovan for now. Thanks for your sentiments, Donovan. Kobe Pruitt says, if I hear Harb say, quote, we have to go to work one more time, I may become physically ill. Oh, he's going to say, Kobe, do not turn on the press conferences tomorrow. Do not do it. Do not do it.
Yeah, it's going to be, it doesn't matter what's said, right? At this point, that you just got to go out and do it. It's the classic actions speak louder than words. Sarah, he said things on Monday that I went back and revisited and tweeted out in game. And it was essentially promising and instilling his belief that they will, again, play good defense this year, which is what you have to say. But my goodness, when you come out 6 days later.
One of the tweets you put up, I just mentioned, we're so close on defense. We're so close.
Oh, that's the one. That's the one. Dreams writes, no heavy blitz on the 27 ranked offensive line is malpractice. Eileen says, to recap, Sarah, Ravens need a miracle.
Yes, Eileen.
They do.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Thank you, Eileen. Appreciate you guys for being with us under these circumstances. Over 6,000 concurrents. Shall we take a look around the AFC North?
Yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll look at some quick hits and roll out of here. So before you do, real quick, we skip this early? I just wanted to say, obviously there was a lot of coaching controversy coming into this game because John Harbaugh talked about Todd Monken. I just thought I just had it queued. Where'd it go? There we go. He was asked about Todd Monken's play calling, seeing as they're only 10 points. John said that he thought the play calling really wasn't an issue today. We tried to do the things that were in the game plan, and we never really generated a rhythm. He went on and talked about turnovers and things like that. So penalties. There were, by the way, what was up with the like Isaiah Likely had two, Zay Flowers had one. Although Zay, by the way, shout out. I mean, I guess something positive. Zay's catch, that 56-yarder, great adjustment in the middle of his route to go up and get that one. But Isaiah Likely had two pre-snap penalties. Keon Martin How many penalties did he have?
Yeah, at least
Like at 3.
At least
Yeah.
3.
And then Zay Flowers got called on a false start when they lined up and tried to go for it on 4th and 2. So I don't know what was up with that. So between penalties, turnovers, I mean, he tried. Here's what I'll say about Todd Monken. I do think he was more committed to the running game. I do think he could use some creativity there. It was so compact that it just telegraphed to the defense that they were running up the gut with Derrick Henry, and some outside zones, inside zone stretch, all of that. I think he could have played with a little bit more. It just felt like, yes, Todd, we're glad that you're using Derrick Henry, but can we use a little bit more creativity? And obviously, with Cooper Rush playing, we knew that they'd go to Derrick Henry much more. Of course, you have to. And then also because he just got blasted for not running it. Like, the Texans for sure knew that they were going to be running. So I felt like it called for a little bit more creativity in the play calling there.
Nunia says, think 4 playoff wins in 12 years should have been enough to fire Harbaugh. Definitely didn't serve, and I should say didn't deserve an extension, which he received from Steve Bisciotti this past offseason, which kept him from going in to this upcoming year, or meaning the current year that we're in, as a lame duck coach. Sarah, Pittsburgh is on the bye this week. The Steelers lead the way atop this division at a 3-1 record. They're coming back from London, I believe, right? Did they play in London last week? I feel like they played.
I believe so. Or Dublin.
Dublin, thank you.
Yeah.
London, the London game at Tottenham, where the Ravens played a couple years ago, was Cleveland this week. And they hosted, quote unquote, hosted as the home team, the Minnesota Vikings. Cleveland fell to 1-4. It was Dylan Gabriel's first career start. I got to watch a chunk of this game. He was pretty good. He was actually pretty good. 19 of 33, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, sacked a couple times, quarterback rating of 94.3. Thought, for the most part, got the ball out on time. Had a ball or two batted down. He's compared to Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz like 6'4", 6'5". Dylan Gabriel looks short going up to the post-game handshake with him. Thought he commanded the offense pretty well. And they moved the ball a lot better than they did with Joe Flacco. Those were a couple of my early observations. The defense.
That being said, they still didn't get above 20 points, which who did we have on for the Browns preview game? Do you remember who we had on? Whoever it was. Oh, was it the Athletic? Yeah, Akron. Zach Jackson. There we go. Yeah, he was saying that the Browns will never score more than 20. And they haven't, and they still didn't with Gabriel.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel. So
they did not.
Still the same end result in terms of scoring. Meanwhile, Bobby, the Cincinnati Bengals are currently getting trounced by the Detroit Lions. It's early in the third quarter. Detroit's up 21-3. So yeah, right now, sure feels like the Steelers are running away with things. Because they lead
yet again, it's like the division is wide open. And the Ravens are making it wide open.
That's the thing. So the Bengals, by the end of the today, are probably going to be 2-3. And the Ravens and Browns are both now 1-4.
Yeah.
The Steelers still haven't hit their hard part. This is another reason. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. I feel like the season's over. But again, if those 2 things that I said could happen, where you change defensive coaching and all your Pro Bowl players come back minus Nnamdi Madubuike, the Steelers, the division is still right there. Why don't you just make the changes that we can all see? Make the change. Make the change.
To say it's right there is factually correct, but then it's like it's just like it's so close yet so far.
This division is so bad. Just make the change.
Man, oh man. Yep, that's the state of the AFC North. Pittsburgh, coming out of its bye next week, will host these Browns that we're talking about, and they'll then go on the road to Cincinnati. So, look, both teams are obviously going to play them tough, right? It's AFC North play, regardless of who's starting under center for them. But hey, 2 winnable games for a 3-1 team. You then host Green Bay, then for Pittsburgh, it's going to get trying for them around week 8. You got Green Bay. The Colts look incredible, Sarah, with Daniel Jones. You've got the Chargers after that. You go back to Cincinnati. It's no Joe Burrow, obviously. So they got a tough 3 week. I'll call it a tough 3 week stretch, 8 through 10. Green Bay, Indy, and the Chargers. So
and then again, if changes were made, then the Ravens get to play them head to head twice. It's all right there.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. Let's see.
How about this over the weekend? We never got to talk about this. Maybe you have on your show.
I have. It's terrible.
Okay.
It's absolutely terrible that Arthur Jones, the former Raven, he won a Super Bowl chip with them in 2012. He was a stud at Syracuse, a 5th-round pick by the Ravens in 2010. Left us way too early, Sarah. Way, way too early. 39 years old. You see Steve Infanti's tweet here. I believe he's a news personality up in Western New York. That an Onondaga County Sheriff spokesperson, told him and his station that Arthur's pacemaker went off the morning that he passed. It automatically sent a message to his doctor, but the EMS did not get there in time, which is just so incredibly tragic. He responded to Arthur's home just before 11 a.m. He had already passed away. He had a pre-existing heart condition, somebody that was beloved in Baltimore, and leaves us way, way, way too soon. And I know that you were there during his time in Baltimore as a team employee. I'm sure you have fond memories.
I do have fond memories of Arthur Jones. In fact, I still have a group chat with a lot of former employees, friends that I became super close to, and we were all just reminiscing about Arthur Jones and how his smile could light up a room. He was such a nice guy. I distinctly remember seeing him along with a lot of people, but distinctly remember celebrating when we got the Super Bowl rings that we all got, and we were at the Super Bowl ring party that was at the Ravens facility. They pulled out no stops, and Arthur was that's how I'm going to remember him. He just was on top of the world, super happy, that smile, saying hi to everybody, just reached the pinnacle that you can reach as an NFL football player.
Yeah.
So obviously he's got brothers that are well known. Yeah. And I pray for them and his whole family, the Arthur Jones parents, that they can find peace and know that they'll see their son again one day. But he was sometimes when people pass, you just choose to look at the good. There was so much good from Arthur Jones. So celebrating with him, getting the Super Bowl rings will be one memory. The second memory, some people had tweeted out over the weekend, is when the Ravens brought to training camp an ice cream truck. And Arthur Jones turned into a little kid again. He was running with his arms wide, and not just running, he was skipping and leaping to it. I mean, he just was so much fun and just brought so much positivity.
And that could have been felt for sure in the statement that was released by Eric DeCosta. The Ravens, led by EDC here, wrote, "We are terribly saddened to learn of Arthur's sudden passing. His presence was a gift to everyone he encouraged. His big, bright smile, infectious energy, and eternal positivity created a presence that continuously uplifted others. He was kind, courteous, and enthusiastic, always displaying a love for family, teammates, and friends. We send our deepest condolences to the Jones family and all who loved Arthur." Sarah, they had a pregame moment of silence I saw as well at M&T Bank Stadium earlier this afternoon. So good on the Ravens for obviously honoring one of their own. And you and I, as we've already made clear, we send our condolences and our best wishes to all of the Jones family and really all of Ravens Nation. Really tragic time just a couple days ago. 39 years young. Rest in peace to Arthur Jones. And just wrapping up our final quick hit here, we do have a couple more super chats as well. Tom Pelissero of NFL Network noting that Justin Tucker, Sarah, is ramping up now that his suspension is starting to wind down. He will be eligible to return November 11th. And already, according to Tom, has interest from several teams. Of course, he is a graduate of the University of Texas, a former undrafted rookie in Baltimore, found by Jerry Rosberg. Had a legendary career in Baltimore that obviously ended not in the best of ways whatsoever. They parted ways with Justin. Of course, after those 16 sexual assault allegations that ultimately brought his career in Baltimore to a halt this offseason. So just keeping up with a former Raven here. I kind of said it a couple times, Sarah, that I think the NFL is so kicker needy that I kind of felt like this was going to happen at some point. And sure looks like there's a decent chance that Justin will find himself on a roster in the next month or so.
Yeah, Tom Pelissero obviously probably in contact with Justin Tucker's agent here. They know November 11 is coming around, so they just want to make sure that teams get him on their radar, and so they're able to go out to a big media name like Tom Pelissero and get this video out. So that's what he'll be doing, and anybody that's struggling with a kicker, I'm sure, will be interested.
Yeah, and I think just to be clear, I believe the wording was sexual misconduct allegations, just to be clear. So let me get my words correct on the way that had been reported, and ultimately, the suspension was levied due to sexual misconduct allegations with 16 different massage therapists in and around the Baltimore area, dating back to his early years as a Raven. Let's see. I think we have one more super chat here. Kobe Pruitt writes, I'd argue a new defensive coordinator is not going to help us win the battle in the trenches where you just have to want it more than the other player. That's culture. KP's dropping a bunch of wisdom today, isn't he? Appreciate you, Kobe.
Did we get this one?
We did.
Okay.
Yep, we did.
Right.
None of you beanquacks. All right, everybody. Well, probably not the most enjoyable post-game show that you've ever maybe participated in. We tried to be fair. We tried to be pointed. We tried to be ultimately, I don't know, like real, right? This is real. This is uncharacteristic. It's rare, but it's real. And it's happening right now in Baltimore. It's shocking. It's jarring. But this is what's happening with the Ravens right now, Sarah. And now, even more so than they were a week ago, their backs are against the wall. The Los Angeles Rams come to town. Yes, they just lost in their own kind of embarrassing way, in a sense, because of how injury-plagued the San Francisco 49ers were on Thursday Night Football. But at least the Rams showed some fight. Sean McVay and company, led by Matthew Stafford, is going to come in guns blazing on Sunday. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff. They then go into a very early bye. Then the Chicago Bears, Week 8, come to town. And that's where things stand right now. We'll obviously follow this closely over the course of the next 24 hours. John Harbaugh will meet with the media tomorrow. That'll be a highly attended press conference, I'm sure, by you, or maybe you just straight up given up on hearing from John Harbaugh. But as Sarah said, there is still a path.
There's a path, but changes have to be made.
The path is narrow. the path is narrow, Sarah, and it reminds me of a hiking path.
It's a miracle path, as Celine said.
It's a path that needs to be weed whacked. It needs to be digged out, right? They got to dig themselves out, and that's where things stand. So we appreciate you guys for spending some time with us on this Sunday.
6,100 concurrents. Appreciate you guys. 6,100. That's a pretty good number. I guess not as many people are checked out as we thought.
The reactions are killing me right now. A path to what, Bobby? I don't know. I don't know.
The path here I'll just say, a path to, there's a path to making those Steelers games interesting. Who's now in the lead of the AFC North.
Fair enough. Thanks, everybody. Seriously, your viewership and your engagement and your interest in what we do means a lot, even after the losses. The vaultpod.com/shop is a great way to support the program. If you want to check out our new apparel line, shout out Lewis, man. He tweeted us in the pregame. He was hanging out at the bank. He had one of his white Vault golf polo shirts on, which was really cool to see. And so many of you continue to support the program, whether it be through, I promised, Ma the meatloaf! Meatloaf!
I think we need one more because Eileen had 100. She goes through. There you go. Boom.
Again, read the room, but also making sure we stick to.
We can have fun. We went through everything. We can have fun.
Yep. And it goes without saying, appreciate everybody for the continued support. Sarah and I will be back tomorrow at noon. Enjoy the rest of these 425 games that are coming down to the wire, and enjoy Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, and Sarah and I will catch up with you 12 noon tomorrow. Let's see. Anything else? Are we good? I think we're good.
I think we're good.
Okay. I think so too.
I mean, we're finished, but I don't know if we're good.
No, we're not good, but we're finished with this show. Yes, we are. All right. Well, if everybody could on the way out, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. And if you can, stay with us. We're going to try and make the most sense out of everything that's happening to your team as we can. For Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trosset signing off from this instant reaction post-game live stream. Ravens drop a historic one, and in colossal failure, 44-10. Fall to the Houston Texans. Rams up next. We will catch you next tomorrow at 12 noon, and I'll be live later on tonight on my personal channel. We'll catch up with you guys soon, and as always, thanks for spending some time with us here inside the Vault.